Today we will be learning about linear patterns. Now, linear patterns are any patterns that increase or decrease by the same amount each time. So let's do a little sample problem, okay? Let's say, I'm going to make this a little smaller, sorry. Let's say we are given the following linear pattern. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. Okay? This is our linear pattern that we are given. So there are 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself as soon as you see a linear pattern question. The first question is, what is my first term? Okay, so your first term in the sequence is 6, right? It's the first number you see. So this must be the second term, this must be the third term, this must be the fourth term, this must be the fifth term, so on and so forth. So your first term is 6. The second question you need to ask yourself is the pattern increasing or decreasing? Are the numbers getting bigger or smaller? These numbers are getting bigger, right? We started at 6, we ended at 36. Safe to say this one is increasing. Now, the third question I want you to ask yourself is by how much? If we know that a linear pattern increases or decreases by the same amount each time, we have to figure out by how much. By how much are the numbers in the set increasing or decreasing? So let's see, to get from 6 to 12, you add 6. To get from 12 to 18, you add 6. To get from 18 to 24, you add 6. To get from 24 to 30, you add 6. To get from 30 to 36, you add 6. So we know that the pattern is increasing by 6 each time. Okay, great. So those 3 questions kind of just organize your mind so you can answer questions about linear patterns. So those are the 3 things you need to ask yourself the second you see a linear pattern question. Now you're going to see 2 different types of linear pattern problems or questions. It's going to be find some term. So find the 8th term, find the 10th term. They're just asking you to find that term in the sequence. So let's see, find the 9th term. Okay. So we're at the 6th term, so we need to find the 7th term, then the 8th term, then the 9th term. Okay, so if this pattern is increasing by 6 each time, I would just add 6 to 36, and I would get 42, then I would get 48, then I would get 54. So I just added 6 each time, right? So the 9th term would be 54. The second type of question you're going to see with linear patterns is find the equation that represents the linear pattern. Okay, so if you need to find an equation that represents a linear pattern, that represents a linear pattern, what type of equation do you think you're going to find? A linear equation, right? So you need to find the equation of the line that represents these terms. So these are the 2 types of linear pattern questions you're going to get. It's either going to be find the nth term or find the equation that represents the linear pattern, okay? So we already did an example of find the 9th term, or find whatever term they want you to find. So let's do an example of finding the linear equation for the linear pattern, all right? So we're just finding a linear equation. So let's start with a linear equation. Y equals mx plus b. So in a linear pattern, m is going to equal, let's just call it how you continue. It is how much are you adding or subtracting to each term as you move through the sequence. So it's basically the amount you add or subtract each time. So in the example above, it would be positive 6, right? We're adding 6 to each term as we move through the sequence. B is going to be the 0th term. You're probably thinking to yourself, excuse me, what is a 0th term? How could you have a 0th term? It's basically the term that comes before the first term in the line. So it's going to be the 0th term. So all you need to figure out is what number you started with in order to get to 6. So what number did we start with, add 6 to, in order to get to 6? It had to be 0, right? The 0th term is not always 0, but in this case, in this problem, the 0th term is going to be 0. So if we plug these values into the linear equation that we have over here, what are we going to get? M equals positive 6, B equals 0. Well, we would get Y equals positive 6x plus 0, or just Y equals 6x, since the positive and the 0 are, you don't need them. So this would be the equation of the linear pattern.